This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to a new YouTube video. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today we are going to be talking about how to shoot a collection of images and more importantly, how to tell a story with those images. I think this for me has been one of the more daunting aspects of photography because I think there's not always a clear-cut way to actually tell a story with photography. It's very, kind of a gray area for most people, and it's something that you have to learn over time. And for me, this is something that I've definitely learned over the years, but it's something that I continue to learn, and I'm not exactly where I want to be yet necessarily, but I wanted to bring you guys along and show you guys my kind of photographic process for telling a story. Now for this video, we're going to mainly be focusing on a product and how to show a story of an actual product. I think that's the best way to showcase a product personally, is to show the lifestyle of the product. When you guys look at advertisements on TV or you see photography campaigns that are shot really well, a lot of the time it's very little about the actual product. It's much more about the actual lifestyle of the person using that product. And I think there's a great opportunity there to tell a story. We're going to be focusing on that today. We're going to be shooting photos of my friend Michael, and we're going to be pairing him with this bike that I have in the office that I haven't shot photos of before. It's a company called Retrospec, and they have a really cool brand. And I really love the aesthetics of their bikes. So I figured it'd be a perfect opportunity to shoot some photos of the bike and bring you guys along to show you guys how to tell a story and how we're going to kind of attempt to tell a story with this specific shoot. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I'm going to show you guys kind of some tips and tricks on how to get the best story out of your images. And we're also just going to bring you guys along and show you kind of what we get up to on the shoot. So let's get into it. All right, so first and foremost, the most important part before you do absolutely anything is going to be planning your shoot. Now, I've broken this down into a few kind of key points and steps that I think will really help you guys kind of dive into your shoot. So for me, when I'm setting up a shoot, I really want to set myself up to succeed, obviously. And this can mean many different things, but I think for me, the most important part out of all of this is going to be being as organized as possible. And for me, being organized in both a visual sense and also just, having everything ready to go, batteries charged, cards completely formatted, everything is just organized and neat and tidy. It's going to reduce a lot of your stress when you actually go out and take photos. And I think this is going to be a huge component for a lot of you who haven't really thought about this maybe, or you just kind of roll up to shoots really unorganized. It's not the way to do it. Honestly, just getting as organized as you can before you even take that camera and start taking pictures is going to be super key. So the first thing for me when I want to convey what I want to shoot is going to be a mood board. Now, you guys have seen me touch on this in previous videos, but I think creating a mood board is extremely important, and it also just really helps not only you, but the entire team that's going to be there on the day of the shoot. For me, it's mainly just going to be three of us, but I'm going to be mostly conveying this visual idea to Michael, the person that I'm taking photos of. Why this helps so much is because it gives them a visual representation of the stuff that I want to be taking photos of. Now, this could be colors, this could be lighting, this could be compositionally. All of these kinds of things are super important. And a mood board is really nice because it's really easy to see what someone wants to accomplish visually. And a mood board obviously does that very easily. I make a mood board for pretty much every single shoot that I do, but especially for shoots like this, when I really want to convey a story, I really want to grab as much inspiration as I can and just kind of have everything organized and ready to go. I usually transfer the PDF over to my phone just so I have it, and on the day of the shoot, I can kind of glance at it just to remember all of the interesting elements that I wanted to include into the shoot. So as I said, for this specific shoot, I really wanted to convey the lifestyle of a person that would ride this specific bike. And when I think about, the kind of person that would want to ride this bike, this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. Really want to set things up in a way that, it's going to flow very naturally. When you start thinking about all these little details, it really gets a lot easier to break things down visually, because you don't necessarily need to include every aspect of this person's lifestyle into the images, but just the aura of their actual lifestyle is extremely helpful because you can make decisions based off of that. Mainly, I'm using this visual representation for locations, for outfits, for the model, and then also how to incorporate the bike properly into all of this. So when I'm thinking about all of that, it really helps for me to kind of just brainstorm in my head what this person would be doing and where they would be going while on this bike. So once you've nailed your concept, it's really important to take care of all these little details that will really help you on the day of the shoot. So the first little thing that I really try to focus on when I'm kind of planning out a shoot is going to be color. When I think about the color of this specific shoe, I really wanted to complement the actual colors of the specific bike that we're shooting, because that's going to be the main focal point of the story. It has this really nice blue color for the base, and then the wheels are kind of this really bright tan color that I thought looked really nice. I tend to go towards neutral colors because neutral colors just work really nicely. I also want to make sure that the locations that we're shooting at make sense as well. Not in just a compositional sense, but I think in terms of color as well, these really need to be, meshing well with the colors that the subject is wearing, and also, for the specific shoot, the color of the bike as well. Another thing that I really like to do is location scout, just because I really like to understand visually what I'm going to be working with. For this specific shoot, I really want nice, clean, minimal lines, also probably mixed with some nature, some trees, some nice morning light. Essentially what I will do is I will go drive around and I will take pictures just on my iPhone of all the different locations that I really like. I'll import those into just like an Apple Notes or something like that. And therefore I have a visual representation of exactly kind of what I'm thinking for the shoot. And then when I show up to go take photos, I'm actually ready to go. And I already kind of have some compositions laid out in my mind, and I can just look at those photos to kind of jog my memory. And it makes things a lot more simple and easy to actually just kind of go with the flow of the shoot. So for this specific shoot, obviously going for more of a narrative story approach, I wanted to make sure that I kind of shot this in a sense of, this person is basically commuting to work. I thought would be the most simple way to do this. And so essentially we shot the first couple photos at my apartment on my patio, and then we kind of transitioned from there into some nearby neighborhoods, which I figured would be perfect for that. So time of day is obviously a huge part of my photography as well. If you guys are photographers, you know that, the morning light is pretty much about as good as it gets, especially here in California. It's so nice and soft, but it does go away pretty quickly. So I wanted to also take note of that and understand that the light that I'm looking at when I'm location scouting might be a little bit different in the morning. And it's important to remember that, light is going to transition throughout the day in different times of the year. I use this app called Sunseeker on my phone, which I found to be really helpful. Essentially, you can hold it up to any specific scene and it's going to tell you where the sun is going to be at what time of the day. And therefore we can kind of plan and understand where the light's actually going to be hitting. And we can kind of, also plan our compositions accordingly based on where the light is going to be. So once you've organized everything, come up with your narrative and also briefed your subject, found your locations, and overall just kind of dialed in every aspect of your shoot, it's time to finally pick up the camera and get to work. So when I think of my photographic process, especially when I'm shooting a story, I don't necessarily have a clear-cut way or, a formula to describe to you guys of how to actually get a great story every single time. I do, however, have a few methods that I definitely use that have helped me in the past, and I'll kind of explain those to you guys throughout this whole shoot. So first and foremost, I think it's really important to mix up your compositions to have a great storyline. If you shoot everything at the same distance from your subject, it's probably not going to be as interesting. I find the approach of just starting really close to the subject and working your way back throughout each scene works really well for me. I oftentimes obviously go side to side as well, but I find that this really works because you get a mix of details as well as, wider shots of the entire scene. And it really does start to convey much more of a story because you have all these individual photos of the specific scene from a wide glance, but then you work your way in and you start shooting all the different details. For this shoot, I'm going to really focus on the bike and the details of the bike, how light hits the bike and how it reflects off the bike. And then once I get all of that, I can start working my way back and start including the subject a lot more in the images. And then finally, when I get all the way back, I can focus on the entire scene and have the bike be a much smaller part of the image rather than, the entire image, if that makes sense. I would honestly recommend using as little gear as possible. This is just kind of a philosophy that I have. I think one lens and one camera is honestly a great way to, just focus much more on what you're actually shooting rather than, just fiddling around with multiple different lenses. I did, however, for this shoot, use two different cameras with a lens on each, a Contax 645 as well as a Canon EOS R5 with the 28 to 70 f2 lens. I really like these cameras in tandem because I like shooting film obviously for the colors, and I really like to shoot at least one roll because I find it really helpful to base my editing process off of that roll of film when I get back and I get my scans back from the lab. I don't rely on this process entirely, but I do really enjoy the natural look of film obviously, and I try to emulate that as much as I can with my digital photographs. So when it comes to directing your subject, I tend to have much more of a fly on the wall approach rather than really being in their face and trying to micromanage. I found that this works a lot better for me because it lets the scene happen naturally and it lets it progress. And ultimately, I usually just get better photos when I let the scene just kind of do its thing. So typically I will ask the subject to do a task, or in this case, I had Michael just move with the bike, everything from biking really slowly around corners so we could get some cool tracking shots to interacting with the bike. All this stuff is great because it really allows for much more candid images versus them feeling really posed. And again, just really focus on the fact that you probably want some sort of movement or emotion or feeling in your images. And the better that you can describe that versus an actual pose, the images are probably probably going to turn out a lot better. So overall, I think telling a story with photography is a great way to showcase your talent and also really just dive into a really unique aspect of life or product or person. It's a way of telling stories that a lot of people resonate with. Even if they don't shoot photos themselves, everyone can really appreciate a great photographic story and a great narrative. And that's kind of what I wanted to describe to you guys today. I think for me, this was a really eye-opening process, and I've shot photos obviously with a storyline in the past, but I want to do this more consistently because I really think it helps me become a better artist and a better storyteller. And I would highly recommend that you guys do the same. You know, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Again, we just used a bike that I already have. You guys probably have a lot lying around in your house that you can make use of. And I would definitely recommend that you guys try to put a story together utilizing some of the tips that I explained to you guys today. And let's see what you guys can come up with. But yeah, thank you so much as always, guys, for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions about the photographic process and telling stories in general. It would be really great to kind of have a community discussion down below of like what you guys feel like you struggle with when you're trying to tell stories, and we can kind of go from there. But yeah, I want to make more videos on this entire process and the photographic process, and this is just going to be one of many. But yeah, thanks as always for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Peace. Before this video does wrap up, I did want to thank today's sponsor, which is Squarespace, for sponsoring today's episode. Squarespace has been a longtime supporter of this YouTube channel, and I can't thank them enough for helping me grow and run my photography business, as well as pump out new videos for you guys. I've been using Squarespace for many, many years, even before this YouTube channel was a thing, and I can't recommend them enough to anybody who's running or starting a small business or even looking to sell digital or physical goods online. To me, it's just plain and simply the easiest option when it comes to designing and maintaining a website, especially with photography in mind. I want my website to complement my images, and I found that Squarespace design and layout options are just really great for laying out images and making collections of my paid and commercial work. If you guys want to check out my website, I'll link that down below, as well as a link for you guys to check out if you want to start your own website. You can go to squarespace.com/Samuel Elkins to receive 10% off your first website or domain purchase. Thank you so much as always, guys, for watching, and we'll see you next week. Peace.